The pathogens and line stream interference is understanding the conditions and levels when we come into all calculations to seismology. Seismology is position location of size. The correlation line interference is ratio proportions, fractions over pi. Correlation line in positions, okay? Now you have to really understand how to set position, location, and track communications. It's all lines of signal location system. So we use the molecular light distortion communication of ground lines and position location operation and settings. This opens all communication system to Mother Earth and track communications to its position. Right? So Mother Earth is going to go into the atmospheres for the very first time locations. It's exciting. So her universal line is set up. The astrological line condition of Earth travels is going to be in position locations. I'm going to set up the geometric operation, the geology line and line rotation interference. Her astral travels, the astral connections, astral location system. Put her in line calculation setting to her REM cycle reproduction system, the calculation settings, and her menstrual cycle communications. All right. She's going to be cutting the cord line, setting line interference. She has to come back into the galactic line in the position of track communications. She is the foundation ground lines of the galactic system, guys. So you have to understand spiritual line setting. It's all calculated to modify how you see Mother Earth in a set location system and how you see Father Space in a set location system. Everything has that foundation. Okay? Calculation line interference locations and position of the product of the sun. Center calculation line interference of all operations and settings, indirect signals. So you get a left line graph and you get a right line graph in position of center, Adam and Eve put together. Multi-pass, that's all it is. So to get there is its process. And to understand that is to understand the species line communication has to understand the telewaving, telecommunication, telegraph line settings. Code weaving, code activation, line interference, line telepathy, telekinesis. We're just coming into line connection, high interference. Mother Earth has never been on the ground set location. She's always been in space, guys. Okay, she's always been a spiritual source, line connection, interference, position, attract communication settings. All right. So after today, she's going to leave her roots. And when she leaves the roots line interference, it's going to leave line connection, high interference, the crevice location settings into all calculation and interference. That tracking communication setting is going to redirect signals location to the system. Okay, so she's going to be coming into her own protocol setting. Be ready. Center calculation line setting is going to set line position and track lines. Now, this is where it comes into all lines. This is where it gets tricky now. The atmospheres of Mother Earth has been on so many calculation lines and ground lines. The operation surface is going to go into discharge information. The center calculation line interference of reproduction settings and track communications in the ground operation line interference is going to come into size activity. The size activity line stream and line rotation interference is going to set up new ground line operation stream location to its settings. So in communication line interference, species lines are going to be on teeter-totters in calculation. So the track communication lines and ground lines, the operation surface has to be in position location. And this is where we come into seismology. Calculation line interference of longitude and latitude. Her coordinate line conditions of her sun and her position location of the moon comes together, line interference into her own dimensional sail for the very first time calculation. Okay? This is a spiritual force that comes in line positions. All right. This is where it comes into nurturing. This is where it comes into projection. This is where it comes into protection. This is where it comes into all calculation lines to her securities and perimeters of parameters in her space line connection setting. She has to be in her certain line connection of divisions, guys. All right. So she's got to be in the sectors, vectors, and quad line setting interference. She's all calculated, modified. She's ready to go. Initiation line position locations and position. Changing all calculations puts her in a track line and her line communications into set positions. Okay, so in 11 signals and set lines, she comes into her portal communications, equal line calculation, line interference, factor over line rotation. This is where she comes into quasars. Direction of timelines and position locations. We take the seismology line interference, protocol line stream interference, electrical lights, electrical panels, electrical interference on ground operation stream location, position, track line, density line interference locations. We take the ozone line interference, track communication setting, triangulation line and position for all levels of balanced communication. Now, taking the communication line settings, really understand how to redirect her signals instead of location to higher levels. This puts her in a platitude line interference in position location in the atmospheres, hemispheres, stratospheres, bio, and its Markov sphere. Okay, the correlation line and position location, she has to be in the balanced line center, a stream location setting. So it's like setting up a structure wall calculations, right? Setting calculation positions, right? So this is what it is in set locations. All right, mother's here, circuit line, cut the cord. right? Set location system. So what's going to happen? Father's in line setting in operation center coming in that space location. So she's going to, right? Father's here waiting the signal, sending calculation line interference. He comes in his first foundation graph line stream for the very first time locations. He's already line setting in space locations, but he has to understand the communications of mother now because mother's coming in back and where she's supposed to be in space hypersonic line setting in track communications, right? This is where it comes in calculation line setting and line interference and track communication setting and direct signal locations in line calculating, line rotation, in position location to her chakra setting. So directing line setting in position location to her observational location setting direction system, size gravity line setting, and size gravity locations. Setting direct signal location setting. And that rotation, it sits on its set location to its own solar system location of 24,000 line signature location of programs. That redirects their signal location, sets up a proxy setting location of a channel, puts a line calculating line setting. Now that line setting sets line rotation to her moon. The moon rotates the sun, sets line calculating setting to a dimensional sail that rotates the surface location system, puts position line calculating setting. All of a sudden we come into father space. Okay, father space comes to foundation graph line. So once he gets in 12 line signature line streams, because we got to be in balance line, setting line interference. So we're bouncing Mother Earth in space. We're bouncing father in location of space, 12 and 12 in set locations. 12 line setting line interference, a 24 line rotation of yin and yang, and the center of communication is the product of sun. 3 line setting, position location attractions, yin and yang. Multipass, okay? So in that directions, after line signaling and high rotation interference, we come into Adam and Eve. Now the Adam line and line interference of Gardens of Eden sets line communication line and position locations where you come into our calculations of black and white and black. Center line and line rotation interference is all calculated and modified, taking you guys out of scene, coming into the unknown. So intract communications is all about understanding you're seeing these things in the wrong way. You have to see lines that calculations into the back of the brain line rotation interference. It's a location system. Like I said before, you don't see the hand line setting, you see me in traction because I'm behind line conditions. So it's behind the line setting line interference that you see for the very first time correlation system of yin and yang, the process of calculation streamline. So directing signals is set location of foundation graph lines. Mother comes in position to her female line center to her galactic universal location setting into the interline connection system, interdimensional line interference, into her mega universe locations of megahertz location to her setting. And direct signal. Okay? She's got to be in the atmosphere line. Okay? So once she gets in that platinum line interference, she's waiting on say locations into father space. Right? Center calculations of the product sun line interference come together, location system, intract communications. Okay? Come into full calculation line interference to a new evolution line setting, location to a system. All right. So we're going to set up this size graph line setting, location of the actual location system, and position line track. This opens up all communication to her position of travel line settings and position. So we're going to go through initiation line setting. We're going to go through rotation surface, track communications, and direct locations their astral travels. Astral project location, astral connection line, interference, and track communication setting, direct signals, and location system. Okay, I know it's amazing, isn't it, Chris? So we're going to go through the connections where it comes into her Schumann resonance. Now we set up a graph line setting. Now this is a geological line of a pattern that rotates its eye line interference. It travels to communication setting. So we come into line center location to its seed pod line center rotations. Now directing signal across the streamlines instead of location directions. Sending correlation line stream instead of location known as high center interference. Now that line center line interference sets lines on zero line operations instead of location system in position of megahertz. Calculation streamlines instead of location setting. 98 line setting equals lines on one line and lines of 108 instead of location of Fahrenheit over line calculation of Celsius and calculation streamline instead of location directions. Now, directing line center line interference sets position locations into 3 set locations and directions on ground lines operation, right? So this correlates line center line to positions to her pi. This is where we come to seismology. We take the part of line center line interference in set location setting to redirect the line center line interference and track communication setting. I'm saying finger point line streamlines into eye line rotation surface to set calculation streamlines, directing signals in set location setting and direct location system. But it is location north and west and east and south line and stream location and high setting. Done by equation. It's all set up. Boom. Heat signature patterns line rotation surface calculation line directions. Center communication line interference is all levels. How to set up the calculations Schumann resonance. Set location of box line center rotations. 4 line circles, line center line interference of travel communication settings. 5 line center line interference. Calculation of earth, lines in position of water, and position of air. Calculation line, direction locations of fire, so location of plasma in the center. Plasma equals lines of pi, calculation strain. Directing signals line to high line and rotation interference sets position locations into 12 signature lines of rainbow activation ring location of zero line operation setting, position location center operation communications into a magnetic highway information line stream and set location in its direct system. Done by equation. All right, so the northwest southeast line, center line, and direct location, center line positions, interdimensional sail, rotation, surface locations. Sun is on waiting on signal, locations of line condition high interference. Farther line and line interference, moon track communication setting, direct line centers of 6, position location number 6, crosses signals, crosses line stream and set location setting, waiting line rotation and position of routes, 3 line setting, line rotation surface and set location system, sun line rotation surface and calculation string. Done by equation. All right. So it's not what you're seeing, it's knowing what you're knowing. So in that correlation line interference, we've got to get out of the seen lines. It's not what you're seeing, it's what you already know. So set lines of calculation setting changes communications to the unknown to the line interference of phenomenal location system. So known, unknown phenomena. So calculation line interference. The I receptor line interference is now in position of size graph activity line and rotation position track lines. The astral travel communication to its position location comes in film line settings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 line graph lines. Okay, so we got line position across lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because you guys are coming in line to line interference and position location and track lines. Now, this directs your signals. Coming in line interference, line calculation setting, and high calculation streamlines. This puts position locations into operation surface and calculation setting. Indirect line center interference puts you in a 68 line center line rotation and energy graph line streams. 8 line in division, 8 line in center, 8 line rotation, 8 line in surface, and 8 line calculation lines of dimensional sail. Now, the dimensional sail is off calculation. Crossing signal lines, has to go in line position to traffic communication space line timeline. Set lines and high line interference and position location lines all locate position of ground lines, operation surfaces applications. Done by equation. All right, so she set up their dimensional set line. Woo! Okay, we come into the chart line, allocate line stream. Point line setting, rotation center, direct signals, set location directions, set location line setting, high calculation streamline, set location point system, point system, point system, point system, point system, point system. Now there's space lines of channels, line, center, line, and rotation, position, operation. Direct and line setting, okay, is all about understanding how to set up her position of Schumann resonance, correlation line stream. The directing signal line interference. So we come in calculation lines of 0 lines, equal lines of 8, lines of line condition of 0, lines of 9, is line condition of 10, 10 lines of 11, lines and locations of 4 lines of 1, line position locations 1, 1, 1, 1. Set calculation of 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. Set locations of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Set location of 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Set locations of 3. Set locations of 4. Set locations of 5. Set locations of 6. And set location setting. Directing line center line interference. Now we come in line interference in megahertz. Equal line condition mega. Line and center line interference is 3 set location system. Memory, mind, calculation setting, and position locations. All right. So in that line interference, we start to remember these locations of center line calculation streamline. This redirects location to a system. Line center line interference, set line communication setting, graph line streams. See how it comes into graph line stream and set location. That's how you set up a Schumann resonance, guys. Point line interference to Skynet line center line interference, line calculation. Chris, you're going to like this. It's all calculated and modified how you set locations in the megahertz, locations in line center line interference and docile communication settings, and the 0 line and rotation in position location into 11 line rotations in solar system line calculation streamlines. Setting 24,000 line signature line streams, location setting, direct signals. Setting Schumann resonance, correlation line settings, and graph line stream. How to read its location, the laser direct line center interference and travel communications. Directing signals to set locations, line and position operations to set locations. Directing signals, line, high line interference, coloration patterns, coloration line streams, coloration interference, line track communication, position location, operation, surface location, position, attraction. Done by equation. All set up. Hoo-ah! So we all have to understand how this sets up the positions of coordinates. Now, setting position and track communication is really understand how to increase the value of set locations of Mother Earth. Size graph activity, line rotation center, travel communication direction, location, navigations, and minus line setting of surface. Okay, so this is where we come to the lines of roots. Cutting the line centers of root line settings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 location settings. Okay, my throat is changing. Mother's getting ready to initiate. All right, center calculation, center lines, operation surface, and a magnetic high wave formation line setting into galactic lines of 2 panels of operation locations. Now, this gets interesting because now we're coming to size, gravity, activity line, interference of units. The center line, L line, and rotation interference, set line, position, location, flux, path, communication, line, center locations, and vector, correlation of ascension, line connection setting, size, graph, activity, line interference, and travel communications. Done by equation. Woo! Okay, so we got the size graph activity line. We got a uniline rotation interference. Now we set line communication to a planetary line service location and positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and lines on waiting on signal. Line equals line connection system, waiting on 12 sublocations. So that's 12 line planetary line rotations. Signal line, signal line, signal line, signal line, gamma line, inner line, omega line, stream line, line setting, dimension line, operational line, alpha calculation, streamline, and sublocation directions. So adding 3 more channels of 3 planet line rotation interference in position of past, present, future, center correlation line, position attractions. Now this directs signals. The panel line rotation surface sets correlation setting and directions. Now this is pi calculation lines. Now this is where the sun comes in, rotation surface and calculations. All right, very powerful. All right, so she's traveling now. All right, she's out of the lines of ground lines. It's all done at the location system. So in that line interference, you have to recognize the communications. You're going to need behavioral location of change lines that changes your capillars and line interference. Capillar line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Setting 12 line signatures lines of capillar line rotation interference, appearing activation line interference, like calculation setting, a 0 operation location of correlation line interference, and position location attractions. Now we take the seismology line and rotations, and position location of 12 line center line interference, of track communication lines, the solar system communications, of Mother Earth position of operation location settings, or to track communication lines, a heart reactor line and rotation position location, put her in a planet line and rotation position location into her settings, into the galactic energy core. Setting calculating line interference, calculating line position location, all line center interference, of track communication line and position attractions. Put her in Neptune, line rotation interference, Jupiter line interference, information panel, correlation line calculation setting, and parameters and line calculation lines, security, parameters, line interference, inertial location, take it out of chaos, line triangle line interference location of Pluto, represent time sequence location of pi, line center line interference of travel communication setting, direct line signal location system, galactic energy core, and now in surface location to travel and position location operation. Boom, done. Line center line interference, all done. Woo! Y'all having fun? All right. So you guys are finally coming to your spacing line calculation lines of behavioral locations of pattern lines and all calculation lines, size graph activity, ground line rotation interference, center calculation line settings, and direct signals. Okay, Tina line interference, Prismor, Gypsy calculations lines, Lori position locations, Geneva line interference, Chris position locations, Merlin lines, Johnny calculation setting, direction high system locations, all set location head settings, and track communication to its position location operation. Okay. All right, so you're starting to get into line interference of experiencing position location operation of signals. Okay, so the size graph line setting is now in the center calculation. Operation surface locations, inline center line interference. The I central line calculation setting and direct signals. Calculation of Horus, inline conditions of the moon, line operation surface location setting. Directing signals of flux capacitor line rotation interference puts her in a prological line of streamlines in position location into metric stream location of 69. Directing signals line, the center line of rotation in her center calculation intergalactic energy core line and rotation surface in operation surface and set locations. Okay, done by equation. So she set up. Okay. Now the central line interference, we change position of fractions. Now the fraction comes into our calculations. This is where we come into the settings. Refactoring in manufacturing set locations into models. Now we change the communication of the polar line setting of a shift line that changes their paradigm line calculation system. So she's got to come into her 2 panels, operational lines, the 0 line rotations, finding the balance and set location direct. Because the thing is, she's always been on an Earth in set location of density lines. So what we're doing is we're traveling the line settings of center operation to dimensional line rotation surface and set location setting and direct signals. That my equation, right? So she's gone through her 24,000 line round settings. Team's already seen that through location setting directions, seen it through frame line settings. Now we come into blocks line rotations, set position of 4 line setting location settings, and 5 line and 1 line center rotations. So we got 5 lines, elements, 5's equal line interference, lines of 1 lines equals 6, 6 lines position, line conditions of 8, that's 6 to 8 lines and line interference, flux fast communication, line shift, line lines. Line lines is rotation and frame line. Rotation surface, waiting on sig location of sun of operation. Done by equation. All right, so that's 60 line settings and high interference. That's 60,000 line streams. Okay, docile communication line interference. Change line communications. This is where it gets interesting. 9999. Center calculation of 000 on top locations. All right. Taking line, center line interference into 3 zeros, operational lines. 4 lines on top, 3 lines in calculation. Directing signals. And this is how we set up location in position or geographical location settings into a metric scale communication and high center interference into nano set location directions. Remember, she's never been in position of space. All right, so we take the line, center line interference to travel communications. So we got the 4 line signals and lines of 3. Center lines is 7 communications, right? Directing signals. Now that lines are 4 line center lines, position location of new operational line stream and set location 2 or set location line directions in position of remote. Now the operational line center lines interference. Now we change communications in the set location system. Comes the line signature line interference. Merkaba up, Merkaba down, Merkaba across, and Merkaba line settings in position of solar line, graph line, set location directions. Directing line center line interference and set location system. So we put the 0 line, 0 operation, and 0 calculation line interference. Sets position location of 3, 3, 3, heart, mind, and soul, and set location directions. Multi-pass. It's all set up. So the 9 line setting, the 9 line rotation, the 9 line interference, and the 9 galactic line rotation equal lines of 3 set location system. 4 over 3 sets lines of 7 location settings. So her new body of water line, track line, communication, the atmosphere line setting is changed its tether and communication in its direct location system. She's now surfacing in their atmosphere line setting for the very first time in correlation panels and operation surface and set location system in her set location setting. Multi-pass! Woo! Okay. You're finally understanding how to experience these lines and line interference, how it comes in chronological order. And every time you wake up to that set line interference, you're starting to remember more. Okay? So it's very powerful when you come in position locations, line setting location, and what she's doing through location settings into a new correlation lines of a 7-digital core line and rotation interference and position location track line. She's now discord. She's now miscalculated in line interference of calculation. No levels of line interference and more line calculation setting and misinformation. She's out of the density lines of Earth, the rotation surface. She's in the atmosphere line and calculations. So 12 line signals, line and line rotation interference is a 12 o'clock line setting, 12-24 line rotation of yin and yang process communications. Now in that signal line interference, takes 1 lines of 1, 1, 1, 1, and set location system of 1, 1, 1, 1, and set location line setting. Space line and time line sequence. So we got to get in portal line rotation interference and set location settings and direct signals and set locations disappears, right? Setting calculation line setting. It's very happy now. Correlation line is a happy face. Directing signal line interference. He's going, oh, what a relief. It's about time, you know? So in that line setting, she has a 0 line rotation surface. Now the correlation line panel sets line condition to its energetic dome line stream. Set position location of 1, 2, 3, and 4 set location directions. Now line setting line interference sets line communication to a new Earth line rotation surface, sets line calculating line setting in direct signal and set locations. All right, done by equation. All right. So setting an element as a space line sets the line communications how you set position in all calculations. So she's in 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 now, and line condition of space and timeline sequence. Okay. Now we take the 1 line, 1 line, 1 line, and 4 set locations. All right, 4 lines, and we take the 1 line, and 1 line, and set location of 3, and set location directions. Now you have to really understand how this works because the center line interference, 7 equals line center line interference is 7 location systems. Now she's on the new bodies of water. Now we change the alkaline line interference of the H2O line rotation interference, infused location settings, and position location hot, cold. Changing line and heat signature patterns, correlation to alpha lines. Size graph and activity line interference, a seismology line interference into pathogen high calculation string lines. Pathology line interference into pentagrams. Calculation line interference is application of tone lines. Fraction of time sequence times pi. Calculation modify high line interference, the alpha line rotation interference, and delta wave communications, omega line center line interference, telepathy communications into telegraphing line sending, telecommunication lines, size graph and interference, lines of zero operation of new crop circle location setting, and direct signal location to a system. Now, directing line signals is understanding how to use the line centers of zero operation is zero operation is zero operation is zero operation. So she's trying to get information line settings of 4 set location of zero lines. That sets lines calculation of 3 set location of center positions. That operates a signal into new line pyramid and line rotation of service locations. Directing line settings, film strips, and 12 line signatures, line position locations of patterns in operation service. See that pyramid? Now the rotation line settings lets line's position location opens up its dimensional line of its door, sets line communication setting, directing signals, and 3 set location settings and 4 track communications. Done by equation. Yeah. So it's amazing how she comes information line setting. She's extremely happy now. She's now released in the atmosphere for the very first time. Okay? So she's all set up. So we take the one line. She's an important communication lines, zero operation, a new operation line setting, new operation calculation atom line, new operation atmosphere line calculation, magnetic highway information line calculation, streamline, and galactic energy force. Multipass. Look. Okay. So where are we through settings here? I'm showing you what's happening with the set locations here. Rolling channel off relays and roll. So yeah, mine expanded. Yep, but see, that's it. It's on the levels and expansion set locations, direction settings. So the thing is, when mother leaves the earth line, it expands the mine line. So it's all about understanding the adaptation of where it's supposed to be, where it's always been, where it always has. Okay. So that been becomes has, and the has becomes will, and it becomes its force recognition location of its adaptation of its future line setting, puts you in position locations of the now location. Okay. All right. So directing line settings, very powerful when you see locations to a system. How she is in all levels of calculations, right? Blossoming into her own space line calculations. All right, in that position, we have to set up the galaxy string. Now, the set lines of calculation lines of eyes of force, line condition of his moon set line, hand interference, and track communication setting, sets out calculation line positions. Now, this is where she has to really get in the atmosphere line settings. The atmosphere line has to really recognize their communication setting. So directing the line signals and set location system comes into measures. Now we come to alpha, we come into delta, and we come into theta as the 3 set locations. Now, this really gets into her location at delta and these locations and a high interference. So she leaves the beta, rotation to ground lines. Calculation line interference, she's in alpha line rotation and position of track line. Voice and line, grid line interference, sets position of film strip line calculation setting directions. Sun is line rotation and her calculation streamline waiting on signal and set locations. Directing lines of her moon operation surface and travel communication lines and force recognition. Okay, done by equation. All right, so we got the alpha line setting. Now the direct location at delta. Delta sets line communication of programs. So we have delta line interference of 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 lines of set locations. And we got line condition of theta. Theta line is a box. Line condition of triangulation sets positions. Box and position line setting, triangulation line, interference, and track communication setting directions. Because she's triangle over box. She's not box over triangle. She's female over male. So we change line interference to set location in the line calculation setting, work about position of one line signature, one stream. One line signature equal locations of one stream. Setting calculating line interference. Travel calculations, waiting on sig line interference of masculine and feminine to father communications. Direct line interference of female line interference, track communication of male line setting, and center communication to sun, a protocol sun line interference of male and female set locations of directions. Multi-pass. All right, center line interference 4/3 sets line connection system. So we had set 3 lines of signatures, 3 lines of patterns, and 3 lines of interference of behavior location system, heart, mind, and soul. Track communication, body line setting, body activation, body calculation, body information. Done by equation. Hooah. Okay. Yeah, again, Lewis line, Rodriguez lines. You're not in activation setting. Okay. I don't want to repeat myself. It's very important you understand these things. If you want to come in all calculations, feel free, but you got to be in activation line center. Okay, Lewis, you got to be in a modification to a streamline interference and track communication setting to your CPU line and position. Okay. This is formation locations for everybody that's in an activation line setting for the very first time location system, and also for the team line. The team can help you out in position, location, track, and interference, but you can't just walk into center lines of atmosphere line setting locations and know exactly what's going on with the calculation of space and time. Okay, so I'm going to put you in an observation bubble and set locations. All right. So it's important you understand to keep your eyes on the ball and set locations of its directions. Okay. Okay, so in that position locations, this is where we come in line setting. That's waiting on signal location and position locations. All right. So she's in the heart, she's in the mind, and she's in the soul. Right. She's left her body. Whoa. So the body does no longer exist line. It's in conscious location system. It's left the ground lines. She's cut the roots and set lines high positions. All right, so in that line interference, we take the portal line stream lines and 4 set locations. That's 4 line strings, okay? Top line signals, E line connection system. That's percentage lines and position locations, 100% location and directions, all right? So you have to really understand how to use the 1 line stream, how to use the 1 calculations, 1 activation, 1 line rotations, and 1 center line conditions or settings into her new dimensional line of operational lines of its Merkaba, travel line interference, northwest, south, and east, correlation system, correlation divisions, vector over pi, calculations and positions, sector lines in quadrant line interference, and track communication setting, 0 operations, 0 calculations, 0 grounds, 0 operational line setting into galactic universe line rotations into her position track lines, into location of the pi calculation line interference, indirect signals, and line condition high interference of her dimensional sail and set location system and set line division. Multi-pass. Okay. She's done. She's done. All right, so it gets interesting now because the mind adaptation of her service line now is no longer the ground lines of conscious locations. She's out of the subterranean setting. 3 line setting line interference, a gap line interference, travel communication, position track communications. 1, 2, and 3 set locations. All right. Mother Earth is here in line in rotation. She left the center lines and she left line interference and calculation of ground lines, operation streamline, set location setting, cutting the cords and line interference, center calculation line positions, operation of pyramid lines, in position location of diamond core line into a new tesseract, new tetrahedron, and octahedron line in line rotation, position locations, and position location. Okay. So, yes, you guys need water, especially now in set location settings, because the central line communication setting is all direct signals. So, the connection to the Earth line is sending position location, this line set interference, right? But the connection to the ground line operation line setting is off track location. All right, so it's 2 calculations. You guys are going to be line setting line interference, trying to find your position location of Wibble Bobble is set location of ground lines operation streamline to set location system of Mother Earth line rotation. Okay, so you're going to be on line setting line interference and position location of a teeter-totter to understand calculation to its direct location system. You're in line setting, your line position, trying to find the balance. Okay, so it's really to understand how this all works now, because the thing is that Mother Earth has to be in a 3-track communication setting into the galactic core line. Her foundational line setting is position locations of Mother Earth. Mother Earth is its nature line stream location to its setting. This releases its position location of its program to the center calculation system of her particle setting. So in line position locations, she's in her new Schumann resonance in space anomaly and set line calculation setting and direct signal into a magnetic highway information set location. Multi-pass. And that's where she is right now. Okay. Ground lines, center lines, operation surface, and position of where she is. Okay. So the ground line operation line setting has to retrack communication to its system. Now this is where it really gets interesting, set location to your settings. Okay. Pay attention. Bracket line, center line interference is 0 line rotation. Now I'm going to set up the connections to the AI graph line streams. Now, direct location is all levels, geometric line and position locations, map sequence, location centers, directing signals as locations to her position. Center lines is calculation lines of dimensional lines of lock line interference or cloud line change in position of traction. So line signature line streams, okay, directing signals as locations to or line settings of zero operation. Okay, now doesn't look like much to you, but this is her position location or map. Now, directing line position is understand the triangulation of force lines. We have a triangular line interference. Everything has to be in chronological order. It's set location in its directions, setting position location operation. So it's putting the triangular line settings in position attractions, box line rotation surface and locations, directing signals, lines, and set location and directions, sending calculation lines and measuring correlation. High calculation modifications all levels. So I'm going to put this in pieces and puzzles together. So set communication, setting directions, setting calculation line rotation, and high set location. So this puts line calculations in mirror resolution line streams and set location to her position locations of where she's supposed to be and set location setting. Very high rise line can use the hieroglyphic location of space lines and calculation streamline and set location to her system of zero lines of new operational lines of a galactic universe locations into inner line calculation. That's my equation. Okay. So now we set the atom rotators. The atom line, center line interference, center position, center, grounds, line and rotation interference. So now she's got to get balanced with the ground lines and the atmosphere location settings because she's in the brainial line, center line, and the atmosphere location of spectrum lights. Setting calculation line, in line interference of zero operation set locations. Okay. So in that line interference, we neutralize calculation of triangulation. We set position track lines of communication and indirect communication system. So we come at a phase direction time sequence times a pi. Direction of timelines, calculation modification with line setting, rotates its surface location, position of track communications, opens all line connection, high setting, direct location set, high position location, all levels, metric screen line and line interference of future adaptation line, rotation, centering, calculation, streamline, position locations, adding symbols, lines, letters, shapes, and symbol line calculation settings of letters, correlation of line direction settings in high set location system to a new tree, new plant, new line information line interference of tree communication setting, direct signal set locations. She's all set up. Multi-pass. So it's a new cloud line change. Now the cloud line sets lines of high calculation of plasma line, streamline, rotation interference and set location system to a blossom. She's blossoming now. See the nose line? See the eye line? That's Mother Earth. Multi-pass. You see what I mean? Do you see and understand the calculation to a set line and high interference? How you set line communication setting to all geometry location of patterns in her position location or astral travels? The astral location high line calculation line setting sets position attractions. There's Mother Earth in set locations. She's happy and always informs. She's supposed to be where she's supposed to be, which is all levels of space in set locations. Multi-pass. Mega pass in set locations. All right. I'll save that through signal. So, how does everybody feel now? Well, what's going on through line center line interference and track communication settings and all direct signal locations to your system? How it all works through modification. Okay? Going into the 68 is so strong. Yeah. I know. It's really underlying interference. And see, the thing is, she has to come into a certain line of communication or frequency so she can get in her space and line setting. This high rise of space and line correlations of telepathy, telekinesis. So you work with her in space for the very first time. You understand? That's how this works. These allocations. Knowing exactly what the prodigal son can do through set location. See? Hoo-ah. All right. Oh, it's fascinating. It's amazing when you come to see these line settings, behavior location to set lines and high positions. Okay, so we go with the alpha waves. We got an alpha line setting in directions. All right, she's got to get into her voice line grids. Because the thing is, she's been on the earth lines on so many line signature line interference. 650 billion years line track line calculation setting in a three-dimensional line stream. To understand the fathom communication line interference location and gravitational line setting. Indirect signals to set location settings, we set up proxy channels, directing signals to set locations into 4 lines, calculations of 3, because that's where you guys are in a 7 location system. All right, so lines of roots, calculates line stream and interference of graph lines, of plasma channel lines, electrical line, walls lines, two panels, lines, of rotation surfaces at locations. Directing position location of graph line stream lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 set location directions, right? So she's coming into her own location grid and set locations of travel. Okay. So remember, it's her understanding her for the very first time in space because she's never been in that set location setting. And it's her son, prodigal son, has to put her back where she needs to be. That's all it is. Multi-pass. So in that location grid line and set lines and high line and rotation interference, sun sets line calculates setting. So 7 lines that equal lines of 3 sets position of 10, 10 lines equal lines of 1. And that's where you guys are in line communication, solar system line setting locations. Center lines of 3 equal lines of 24 and set location setting of clock line rotation. Directing signals to set location system of 24,000 line signature patterns in a location grid of set locations, right? So she's got a location grid set up and she's got her dimensional sail. Now that line position location puts in a higher calculation line setting. That puts her in a 3 line, wave line, 4 line, 7 line, 12 line set location in direct signals into 24 line graph line setting rotation to surface locations. Okay. So we come into the metric scale lines into positions. Now this is a pathogen line interference of a pentacle line and rotation surfaces applications. So center lines are set lines of communication, letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. 1 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, and 5 set location settings and positions. Equal lines of 6 in set location of center. Okay. So she's got to come into her letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols into all calculation here, location of channels. Aerodynamics, line interference, crypto line rotation interference, calculation streamlines, set location operation surface. So 4 equals lines of 7, 7 lines of 7, 7, 7. Calculation line interference of 0. 0 equals lines of 4 set locations. So we take the 4 lines and line interference of 6 equal lines of 4. 4 lines calculation, 4 line here, 3 line there, 7 on top location setting directions. All right. So symbolism, line rotation surface. Mother Earth is now in a systematic line set line and a point system locations into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set line settings and direct signal to set locations. Multi-pass. So her clock lines are set up. So 24 line measure is a 48 line window. Now that calculates the position location at 72 computer line rotation setting, indirect location into 144. So we take the 144, equal line calculation setting, direct signals of 3 zeros, line center line interference, puts 1 lines, equal lines of positive. Position locations, so that's negative over the line setting in positions to prime number. Sets correlation setting, direct signals into a new pyramid line rotation in position locations. Line signals, lines of laser lines, a cosmic line, elixir line, and circuit plane calculation streamline. Its entry location setting, direct location system. Operation surface, operation direct location setting directions. Sun lines waiting on signal. Moon line and operation surface coming in kaleidoscope location. Directing signals, lines of center line communication and programs. Directing line centers, 1 line operation, 4 lines of communication, 4 line set location settings. 3 lines and 3 lines. So she equal lines of 3, 3 in set location setting come into her first double helix in line center line rotation in travel communications in direct signals to reported communications. Multi-pass. Okay. You got to save that for set line connections. Back in this equation. So setting line connection is really to understand how to set position of the operation surface. Center calculation sense lines and calculation lines of surface. Right, that's where she's coming into. So she's coming to her first atom line rotation and center calculations. All right, multi-pass. Right, that's the finish line rotations. All right. So this coordinates line center lines into her box lines into her frequency location of her triangulation, but she's triangular locations of box. She has to recognize space line correlation system of the frequency lines of the telemetry readings. Calculation modification and recalibration to calculation settings. This redirects signals at set location system when you are in position track lines. Okay, calculate and modify high set line connection high system, puts her all in position locations of atom rotation and center calculation settings and 3 set line condition settings and direct signal as locations. Multi-pass. It's all set up. Woo! We're going to keep that position locations and we're going to come back in this line setting. Okay. Now, Once you get into one line center and a 4-line rotation surface, she has to clock her setting location at 24,000 line signature location of solar systems. So we're going to triangulate that line interference. We change the correlation panels, the operation surface. Let's colorate the patterns. Okay, set locations. Colorate the patterns and solar directions. All right. Colorate the patterns and solar directions. Right. Colorate the patterns and solar directions. Colorate the patterns, solar directions. Colorate the patterns, solar direction. Colorate the patterns and solar direct location center. Now she's a flyer. Now she's a fly position location high system. She has a flywheel, line centers, a flower records of time sequence location in her center line conditioner, atmosphere line, interference, and track communication line, position location operation. Done by equation. All right, it's all set up. Zip, zap, zoom. All right, so we'll keep that equation line interference, and we come back to the set location setting directions. All right, so we go through line graph lines, streamlines, and colorations of panels. Operation surface, operation surface, operation surface, triangulation line interference, travel communication of father, line conditions in position of mother, line center line interference, space calculations in position, all levels of timeline sequence in position, space timeline center line interference, product of sun, travel communication line directions, and set locations. Multi-pass. It's all set up. All right, we're going to keep that line signature because I love that picture. Picture drawing line interference, direct communication line in position of the operation of service. Now we set the clock line change. Clock line changes location system, timeline sequence. Now, when you come in a timeline sequence, you have to really understand how to set locations in one line signature pattern. Okay. We change the line signature streamlines into modems, and that comes into our calculation settings. How we come into reverberation channel lines. So calculation line in high calculation of its arrow, calculation of its arrow line rotations. Center calculation line interference. So remember, Mother Earth is now in signal line interference. I'm getting her astrological line condition of travel so she can understand how to use her own GOD for the first time location system. The center calculation line interference was density line and a line rotation of three-dimensional location system. So she's never learned how to set location settings to space lines of anomaly communication of geographic location settings. Now she's in program locations and position locations of birthing calculation of space connections. Okay. Center line and line rotation to center communications. All right. Directing signals and set location line interference. Calculation lines of rotation surface and set location directions. Setting calculation to the sun or direct signal location to its system. Directing the lines of her moon operation to surface calculation to its ground lines operation setting. Directing line interference, calculation line interference and track communication. Center operation line setting. Triangulation line interference of direct signal and set locations. Done by equation. All right. Woo! We're going to keep that in line signature line stream. And we're going to come back to this line position location operation. Okay, as you set line condition system, now she's understanding the clock lines. The clock line is higher interference of 144, 244 to 1044 line setting. So we set locations of 1, 1, 1, 1, and set locations. Done by equation. All right. So the center calculation line, center line interference, she's understanding her 12, she's understanding 24, 48, 72, 144. And remember, she's never been in space line. So it's her son that has to put her back in calculation streamline and set location setting, direct location to her geometry location of the atmosphere lines, into her Schumann res location of space position location of telepathy and telekinesis, into set locations. Done by equation. So it's all set up location high interference of barometers. Okay, set location setting directions. Okay, so in that signature pattern, we come into this position locations back in setting line interference, setting frame lines. The setting frame line interference is set location in the center positions. Center positions, center positions. Flywheel records of time sequence. Okay, and set locations. All right. Point line channels, direct line signals, a set location in the center position location operation to the surface. Okay, changing communication to setting lines, directions. Multi-pass. Okay. I know, Gypsy, it's a lot. Okay, so in that position locations, we come into new signature line stream. Now, directing line center line interference, she's in 1,000 line centers of 4-4 now in directions. All right, so she knows her clock instance. All right, so that's where it is, and it's a line centers of 1 operation of center, 4 lines and 4 line calculations. That's solar string lines and set location and directions in her positions of particle setting. Now, in that line interference, she's waiting on sun and rotation center line calculation setting. Always on waiting signal with father, calculations, father lines, and position of mother, correlation setting directions. So that's 6 in panel, 6 in operation, 6 in division, and 6 in location lines of north, west, south, and east is set location and directions. Multi-pass. So the correlation panel, the operation surface and set location system comes into fractions. Fraction line setting, I know it's a lot, eh? All right. Setting fraction line, center line interference, application of Y lines. Coordinates, high line interference, travel communication line streams, setting direct signal location to a system. Now, getting into that position locations, we come into the sun communication streamlines. This opens all calculation line directions to mother and set location to her positions over her rebooking line rotation centering location to her seed pod and her position locations of her cocoon and set location traction. Done by equation, all right? So the center calculation line, okay? So father is now in center calculations of Mother Earth, is setting a track line, center line interference into a cocoon line rotation surface so she can understand the space atmosphere line setting for the very first time location system, right? So this is how father has mother out in set locations, right? So you have to really direct how this all works in set location line settings, okay? Now we come into honeycomb interference. It'll take a minute here because there's so much going on in line, streamline conditions. Cobwebs, cob interference lines, high calculation setting, direct signals to locations, all right? Center calculation lines, plasma line interference of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. It's already correlating line interference. Now it's traffic calculation line interference. It's 1044 line rotation interference of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols is already set up, okay? Because that's a coordinate line setting. Her direct line center line interference is zero operation to set location setting and direct signals into her seed pod and correlation line directions. So I'm setting up spot channels in position of 4 lines of correlation setting and directions. Okay. So you set location to Merkaba, coming in geo line and center line interference, traffic communication, space line illuminates and lines of zero line rotation surface calculations. Now this direction line centers the correlations of 3 set location settings. Okay, 3 set line settings in travel. She has to recognize her speed lines and acceleration, how fast she can go in set location and directions. Multi-pass, right? So she's got 1,444 line streamlines, direct signal location of 24,000 lines of solar system locations. We're going to keep that on signal, and we're going to come back in this location to its cocoon. Now, the track lines, high line interference, we got to set up the high calculation line position of traction. Now, the traction communication has to be in line center location of 1 opal. 1 line center, 1 opal line interference of Horus correlations of its moon line setting. So when we open the I central calculation streamline, it's a location high interference in position locations into center calculations. Right, setting off lines of UFO line rotation interference and travel communication and center line calculation streamline. 3 lines and 4 lines in set location high interference. So she's platitude for the very first time in walking signals in set location setting and barometer location of channels of operation. Now it's going to complete cycle set location system in directions. Multi-pass. Okay, yes, I know. It's a lot to take and set line. It's going bonkers. Coming back to track line high interference and 1,044 line center line interference of northwest, south, and east. Coordinate line interference, traffic communication line and position track lines. Calculation of flux capacitor, flux capacitor, flux capacitor, flux capacitor. 5 line settings, line and rotation positions, fluctuation lines, ground lines, operation surface. That's coordinate line interference and position location alpha, delta, theta. And that's where she is in correlation line directions in set location system and species calculation. Now it's done. Multi-pass. Hooah. I know. There's a lot of calculation line settings. You have to really understand how this works in all provision. But it's knowing exactly how the connections of the product of the sun puts everything back together. Isn't that amazing what just happened? And you see it all through calculation. Phenomenon. Okay. But it's amazing when you see the line track location system because she's extremely happy with the settings and direct signal and set location to its position. This operates all calculation modification to her settings and all line center interference in her set locations. Right? So, yeah. So, one more thing, line settings signatures. I got to set up high calculation line settings and code weaving. Okay, so we go to modification streamlines. All right, so I'll say calculation line interference. So zero lines operation locations 1111, line calculation line calculation settings 1111 is locations, all right? So we bracket line, center line interference. We change calculation line direct locations. So that's 3 lines who will connect high interference and track communications. So it's all about understanding how 3 lines comes into 4 instead of locations directions. But she's got to understand 4 through 3 lines instead of location setting, male and masculinity and position traction. So the 0 line operates as setting, 1 line operates as surface, 1 line calculates in setting, 1 line is a galactic line surface, and 1 line calculates the line setting of a moon operation surface and correlation setting of direct signals. Now that same line interference sets line position of 3 track line conditions. Is always in 4, is always in 3, because that's where the spacing line is in a new digital code number instead of location setting, and 3 measures the correlation directions instead of locations. All right, now it's done. Okay, multipass. So she's in a 7 line, 7 stream, 7 activation, and 7 location in your spacing line and correlation setting and galaxy set. Multipass! All right, 5 to minutes. See you on Zoom. Adios.